And a pleasant good evening to you and to yours, and welcome to the Brevard Sports Network post-game show. Obviously, we're a little late. And again, I'm going to continue to reiterate, this is a two-man operation, down a man. Caleb, if you're watching from your hospital bed tonight, get well. Please, please, Brevard County, continue to share the GoFundMe of Caleb. And I tell you, I know Caleb enjoyed watching high school football tonight in Brevard County because it was interesting. How about that? How about, can we say interesting, to say the very least? But we have got to start with the game of the last 2 years, right? I mean, this is the game that everybody's been pointing to. Who's the best team in Brevard? Is it O'Galley? Is it Cocoa? Take a look at the highlights from the BSN standpoint. Leading rusher of the year.
Corbin will take it off tackle again. Goes up the sideline at the 5, still on his feet, and with an extra effort is in the end zone for a Commodore touchdown.
That's a Wilmy touchdown.
Near sideline. Troy Silverzon looking for C.J. Hester on the screen, and he's going to go to the 5. He jukes left, and he'll lead the end zone. Touchdown, Tigers. Corbin with a direct snap. He's going to test the outside, and he will. Oh, it's a touchdown.
Yeah. And again, and this time, way to go, young man. He scores. He walks out of the end zone, and the O'Galley Commodores have taken the lead. Great to see. Him just hand the ball back to the referee.
Silverzon calls for it. Quick throw over the middle, and that has got to be pass interference, you would think, as Bettle fell to the ground.
No, he tripped over his feet. And there are two issues I have with this right here.
Ball on the 35 for the O'Galley Commodores.
Oh, look at this.
Maurice makes one man miss. Still on his feet and going down the sideline. Is Larice taking it to the house? Yes, he is.
Touchdown, O'Galley Commodores, and that's how you start a second half, Knock.
Yeah, I was about to say, but that was my key. You cannot let the Commodores. Silverzon, play action.
Nice
to
play
throw.
action.
Goes over the middle of the field. He's got the catch. And the Tigers, it's O'Keefe's battle. He dives for the end zone for a touchdown. Boxing scoreboard here in the fourth quarter. Silverzon quickly throwing. Nice little floater. And that one is picked off by Gallardo, the safety.
Didn't read the safety. Did not read the safety coming backside. And totally missed it. And you know what?
5:35 to play here in the fourth quarter. Larice will keep it himself. Bounces to the outside. Looking for a blocker. He gets it across the 15, the 10, the 5. And do we have the exclamation point? We do. Touchdown, Commodores.
That's it, Doc. That's it. The O'Galley Commodores have come into Richard Dick Blake Stadium and made a statement because they didn't beat them, okay?
As that one's picked by Xavier Larice.
Jeez.
Second interception, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Yeah, I mean, Xavier Larice, if he's not the player of the year, stop and give him the award now because what, and I mean, what else can you do? Listen, Xavier Corbin, phenomenal young talent. But tonight, it belonged to Xavier Larice. And I want to be the first to apologize because I knew there have been, I can name 5 standout athletes. And when I say a standout athlete, I don't mean just a football player, a basketball player, a baseball player, a volleyball player. I mean an athlete who just simply drips athleticism, can do whatever you ask him to do, will do whatever you ask him to do, and does it well. I've seen a handful of those. X's older brother, Jay Sean Corbin, was that athlete, right? So if we're keeping it in the Corbins, but one of the best overall athletes I've ever seen in Brevard County is Oregon commit Xavier Larice. And watching him tonight you're talking about a young man that ran the Wildcat. Oh, and he was extremely effective tonight punting the football as well. I think Knock, Reiner, and I tallied up that he may have had somewhere close to about a 36, 38-yard average. And then just watching him refuse to be tackled. And then the 2 interceptions in the secondary. And yes, somebody said on the comments, can we finally say it? Yes, the O'Galley Commodores are the best football team in Brevard County. 2,148 days the Commodores end Coco's streak against Brevard County teams. 27 straight games dating back to November 2nd, 2019, when Elias Allen and Jalen Mitchell and Ladarius Tennyson thumped the Tigers 42-10 in the Barbecue Bowl. That was the last time that a Cocoa Tiger football team lost to a Brevard County team until tonight. And I don't want it. 3 interceptions. Thank you, Manny. 3 interceptions tonight. That's right. 3 interceptions. And I don't want to hear we didn't have our quarterback. I don't want to hear anything. Neither did O'Galley tonight, because X-Man is not their quarterback. Okay? So this, Anthony and I kept saying going into this game tonight, the 2 teams you see on the field tonight were not the 2 teams that we expected. You think X-Man thought he was going to be running a Wildcat in this game? No, he did not. But he did it, and he did it well. And let me tell you something. I got to give a shout-out to the O'Galley coaching staff tonight as well, because, I don't know what must have been going through their minds prior to the start of the game. They see Champ Smith warming up, but he doesn't play. He didn't play for most of the second half last week against Heritage. And they got to be thinking, well, is this kid healthy? Have we prepared this way, that way? It didn't matter. Our reigning defensive coordinators of the year in Coach Hall, Coach Ramos, however they coached that secondary up tonight, they did a terrific job, because I think there were 5 interceptions in the game tonight, and literally on 3 of them, the safeties baited the quarterback, Troy Silverzon, baited him into throwing the ball one time down the sidelines. A beautiful interception you saw there in the highlights. Larice had one of those as well, and of course the diving interception across the middle. This was a really good football game. And then we got to about 2 minutes to go in the first half, and this is where make sure. Yep, okay. I wanted to make sure I was running the video without the sound. This is really where the football game really took a turn, and O'Galley really took momentum here. It was 4th and 2 for Cocoa, and O'Galley calls a timeout. Cocoa matches that timeout. They come out of the timeouts, and now we're ready. And Knock and I swore up and down in the booth that they were going to give that football to Zay Chapel on 4th down. Zay Chapel had a heck of a game tonight when he carried the football. Literally, I do not remember any time tonight that Zay Chapel went down on first contact. As he, like Xavier Corbin, like Xavier Larice tonight, those kids fought, and they fought their butts off. But I really felt like at 4th and 2 right there. But it was a pass, and Cocoa wanted pass interference. Corbin, I thought, released him with inside. And there you see the play on your screen. Corbin, I thought, released him, or whoever the DB was, released him there. I thought he tripped coming out of the turn there, and we can argue and debate it all day. It had no bearing, because O'Galley's ground game tonight simply dominated the dark side defense, and they did. And the big backbreaker was the play you're watching right now, and that's Xavier Larice getting to that corner all night long. Cocoa chased Xavier Larice all night long. They chased him. So, yeah, congratulations. An outstanding coaching job tonight by Chris Sands and that entire staff. We already mentioned Coach Hall and Coach Ramos. And you know what? I'll say this for sure. I didn't know, and I just didn't know what you were going to see. if you watched the Vero Beach game, well, you liked O'Galley coming into this one. If you watched the Heritage game, because both of these teams played those teams, then you probably leaned Cocoa. I did, because Cocoa played Heritage last week. But I was wrong. I was dead wrong. And O'Galley, I said last night that I didn't think that either of these teams would be playing for a state championship. O'Galley's got 5 weeks to fine-tune some other things. I will say this. I could see the Commodores making a long postseason run doing this. Now, I think they have to protect Xavier Larice. And I know he's not played both sides of the football all year tonight, like he's used to, because he's running the Wildcat. But I think you have to protect Larice in those games where you can protect him. And what I mean by protect him is take him out, let him rest. Because if you remember last year, at the end of the year, he had a hammy, and that played a role in that loss to Miami Northwestern. X-Man didn't play, I think, but if even a quarter in that one. He gave it a go, but I think he hurt it against Bishop Moore. He gave it a go, but, you don't want to see that happen. So I think there are a few things that the Commodores got to do, but who cares about a state championship right now? Because we always say you got to beat the best to be the best. And the best for the last 3 years in this county have been the black and orange. Tonight, the best in this county has an anchor on their uniform, and that's the O'Galley Commodores. So congratulations to the O'Galley Commodores. Our first rankings will come out this week, and obviously O'Galley will sit on top. Cocoa, I hope they get Champ Smith back. I really do. Troy Salverzon gave it a go tonight, but things just did not seem in sync for their offense tonight, and a lot of that had to do with the way O'Galley played defensively as well. And again, Cocoa's defense did not stop that. And listen, I mean, you go into – tell you how good, and I'm going to keep saying this. I tell you how good that Xavier Larice is. If you don't think the Cocoa Tigers knew going into this football game that he was the guy they had to stop, you're kidding yourselves. That's a great coaching staff there. All of them. Coach DeMarcus Manyfield, Ryan Schneider, all of them over there. Great, right? They knew who they had to shut down tonight, and they couldn't stop them. I think it speaks volumes for the player that Larice, Corbin, and that entire team is, because that was a team effort tonight, and it was impressive to watch. So congratulations to the O'Galley Commodores. Now, with all of that said, there still is one real big game coming up. And a lot of people in Titusville will say that game that O'Galley has next week against Titusville is a big game. And it is, because, district games, and Chris Sands will tell you this, district games, anything can happen. With that said, I already like the O'Galley Commodores. I've seen Titusville twice this year. Now I've seen O'Galley, and I've seen them beat the team that Brevard County has been the best in Brevard County for 18 years, not just the last 3, for 18 years. So I've seen them do that. And so I think the matchup, and I'm not overlooking Titusville, because like I said, anything is possible. And it's possible, great teams have letdowns. I'm sure Chris Sands and company are going to guard against that this week. But in a couple of weeks, the Merritt Island matchup looms extremely, extremely large, because there are many on the island that will tell you they beat the Cocoa Tigers. They believe that wholeheartedly. So when the rankings come out this week, don't be surprised. We have 8-9 guys that participate in our rankings. Don't be surprised to see the Mustangs 2 and the Tigers 3. And that matchup between O'Galley and Merritt Island becomes the next big game of the year. But make no mistake about it, going into that game, it's the Commodores that sit atop Brevard County as the creme de la creme right now. So once again, congratulations to them. And I also want to thank our sponsor of tonight's show, several sponsors, if I may, here for just a second. Of course, Natwick Insurance, Eric Natwick, always does a terrific job. So let's get Natwick's bottom banner up on the screen there. All right, let's take a look at the scoreboard and run down it and see what we can deduce from what we know here tonight. Last night, Bayside took one on the chin from Centennial, 61-14. There you see the Commodores 25-13 over the Tigers. How about the Melbourne Bulldogs tonight? I mean, I thought, and again, here I'm wrong, I honestly thought that this was going to be a game that was close, and then maybe, just maybe, they would pull away late. 59-7. And I saw a comment on there that I want to address about our broadcasters there tonight. I hear you. What's his name? Michael Lockhart Sr. I hear you. And I promise you, I will address that issue. So I hear you, and I promise I will, because I don't want that. I don't want that at all. If there's one Brevard County team playing, and you're playing an out-of-county team, fine. But when you got two Brevard County teams, I personally, as a business owner and a guy, I will not put up with that. So I will address that issue. It's not the first time I've heard it. I'll take care of it. Yes. Let's get back to the scoreboard. Melbourne all over Palm Bay tonight. And, listen, that Melbourne Bulldog team, in case you don't know, it's an impressive one because they can put points on the board in a hurry. And I said to myself that if they don't shoot themselves in the foot, they have an opportunity to be special at the end of the year. Kamarian Johnson with a 3-yard run in this one. Mikey Rogers with a touchdown. It was 21-0 according to Florida Today after the first quarter. Kamarian Johnson with a touchdown. Mikey Rogers with a touchdown. C.J. Hall. Then it was Tyrese Jefferson with a 26-yard pass from C.J. Hall. Timmy Sederos gets on the board for Palm Bay with a 43-yarder from Byron Thompson. Jefferson again with a touchdown run. E.J. Hall with a touchdown pass. Jefferson again. We talk about Corbin a lot as a dynamic freshman. Tyrese Jefferson is incredible. 64-yard run. Jeremiah Thomas, a 19-yard pass from Mikey Rogers, and it was a running clock at that point. So, listen, I'm excited to see Melbourne play. I'm really excited for that Vieira game. I want to see that Vieira game. Woodford, Kentucky, 35. Heritage, 17. It was a close game at one point. Bishop Moore, 41. MCC, 13. Let me also take this moment to apologize to our viewers out there who may be watching from Orlando or even here locally. So, obviously, without Caleb, production issues, Caleb monitors a lot of these broadcasts. And I'm going to tell you what, Caleb fixed that broadcast tonight. So we had an echo for the first half of the MCC game. So I apologize for that. And, Chase Alexander has come back this year. He was a great addition to our team last year. And it's just one button on a mixer. And those things can be complicated. And listen, Chase was working by himself, which is not normally the scenario. But being down Caleb, that was the case. So Caleb, from his hospital bed, and I still don't know how he did this, and I can't wait to find out, got in touch with Chase to tell him that there was an echo on his broadcast and told him how to fix it. And that's why they restarted the broadcast in the second half so that there could be an echo-free broadcast. So thank you, Caleb. Amazing doing this from your hospital bed. And Chase, thank you for sticking in there with it because a lot of people would get frustrated and just get off the broadcast. You didn't do that tonight, and I appreciate that. But for MCC, they lose. Again, in MCC's case, listen, this is a beat-up football team. They are without their field general, and they played a very, very good team tonight in Bishop Moore. I can't remember their coach, their head coach's name, but he's like 24, 25 years. And this is a guy who always grooms out outstanding quarterbacks. How about Merritt Island tonight? The Mustangs. I tell you, Merritt Island is they win one 24-21 tonight. And honestly, this was a close one for them tonight. This was I believe, I'm going to pull up the Florida Today scoreboard on this, but I do believe that they scored the last 14 points in this game to come from behind and then take the lead. Let me know in the comments section if I'm wrong, but good for Merritt Island. They're playing some interesting football games this year. And, oh, by the way, for those of you that keep telling me DeLand is not a good football team, that put up 57 a couple of weeks ago on the Mustangs. Yes, they are. DeLand won again tonight, 39-0. So stop sending me message that DeLand isn't a good football team, because they are a very, very good football team. Monroe with a 9-yard run. Old reliable Liam Miller with the extra point in that one. And then the Mustangs would go down in this one. In fact, the Mustangs trailed in this game 21-10 going into the fourth quarter, but they would score the final 14 points. Drew Sarver, it says here, on a 60-yard pass from Kevin Verpale. That kid can get it down the field when he needs to. And Ethan Holt, how about Ethan Holt on an interception return for a touchdown? You win a football game on a pick six, and according to Florida Today's clock, that occurred with 6 minutes and 12 seconds to go in the football game. Also up on the scoreboard there, Holy Trinity 38, Astronaut 14. Another one I got wrong last night. And looking down the list here, Jaden McMillan, Rico Petragio. This is a fun kid to go watch play football. I like this young man as a quarterback. I do. And, of course, Jaden McMillan's back at Holy Trinity. Anytime you can watch Jaden McMillan play, it's, Jaden McMillan. We talked about Xavier Larice being a great two-way athlete. So is Jaden McMillan. I still got Larice is the best athlete in this county right now. Jaden McMillan, 30-yard pass from Petragio. Aaron Rains, that's probably the best wide receiving duo in the county, Aaron Rains and Jaden McMillan. McMillan again with another touchdown reception from Buitrago. Chris Don Gibson with a pass from Buitrago. And Holy Trinity would roll tonight, 38-14 over Astronaut. Gut check time for the War Eagles. These were a battle of 2 3-1 teams. And I just want to say something to Astronaut fans, because I want you to be aware of something. Last year, when we got down to the end of the season, we had to go back and research why the War Eagles missed the playoffs at 6-4 after defeating the Villages the way that they did in that final game. And it was the Villages that went in over top of Astronaut. This is a loss you must circle, because the FHSAA is going to look at this. They're not going to know how good Holy Trinity is. And the FHSAA, no disrespect to Holy Trinity, but when they do their playoff rankings, they're not going to care. They're going to see that Astronaut loses to a team that plays in the SSAA. So, although we all know that Holy Trinity, was a playoff team last year in the FHSAA, that's not going to matter. But these are one of those losses that you have to remember, that when the playoff seedings come out, and should Astronaut find themselves in that same position again, this is one you got to take a look at. So they'll rebound. Coach Waldrop, not Coach Waldrop, I'm sorry, Coach Halleck, Coach Waldrop, and the rest of that great staff up there will get this turned around for next week. How about who I got up there next? Oh, Titusville tonight. Titusville fought their butts off against an unbeaten Spruce Creek team, but they fall to Spruce Creek tonight, 29-22. Listen, Titusville's starting to get some things together. They beat Vieira last week. They're playing really well on defense. You hold Spruce Creek to 29. I know that sounds, but Spruce Creek was the 31st ranked team in the state and Titusville goes on the road and goes round for round with them. So that matchup with O'Galley next week is interesting. We all know how good O'Galley was last year. Titusville was good, but Titusville nearly pulled the upset in the regular season meeting. So keep your eye on that. O'Galley's the best team in the county, so they can't take anything for granted. And like I said, I'm sure they won't. But I'm also positive that head coach Matt Diesel will study this film and watch what O'Galley did against Cocoa, as well as Coach Sands will watch and see what Coach Diesel did against Spruce Creek to be successful. So good job, Coach. I know you came up just short, but this is the time of the year where these close losses really need to turn into wins when we're talking about, because the first playoff rankings are coming out in the first week of October. So all of this is going to matter. Vieira with a big win over Toho. They double up Toho essentially, or they do double up Toho, 44-22. Satellite stays unbeaten as they move to 5-0 as they get a 25-7 win over Port Orange Atlantic. Way to go, Cocoa Beach. They go down to St. Edwards tonight. And, oh, by the way, another game I got wrong. I picked St. Edwards. What the hell do I even know? Cocoa Beach, 28. St. Edwards, 25. Way to go, Coach Kimmy. That's a big win because that's a tough football team to play anywhere, much less down at St. Edwards, and they get the win there tonight. A stunner for me, and I'm sure a stunner for Merritt Island Christian as well, as the Cougs are handed their first loss of the season tonight to Donahue Catholic, 26-20. But I have a feeling Merritt Island Christian will get an opportunity to get their revenge. And Four Corners defeated Calvary Chapel 36-0. Rockledge had a bye this week. So Rockledge with the bye. Wild week of high school football. And, of course, stay tuned to Brevard Sports Network because we will, I will sit here and, I guess you could call me one of them nerds, but I will look at every statistic. I will find as much film. I will do everything that I can. Got business to take care of tomorrow. But after that, I will be all over this and be looking for my article, what we think we know and what we learned after 5 and 6. Again, I obviously think the big leading rusher of the year is the O'Galley Commodores going into Richard Dick Blake Stadium and getting the win. Just incredible, absolutely incredible performance tonight. And by one young man particular, Xavier Reese. Xavier Corbin had a great night as well. I call those two guys the X Factors. But Xavier is the senior leader on that team. And he led them tonight. He did. And I know some of you out there that aren't O'Galley fans may be saying, all right, enough. No, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. This high school football, a lot of people in this county live and breathe by it. And, from August or from July until December, we do too. And so, yes, celebrated O'Galley, but not too long because you got district play coming up. And I remember a couple of years ago, here's a lesson. Rockledge beats Cocoa in that barbecue bowl that year, and that's a great win. Unfortunately for them, they lost, I think, in the second round of the playoffs that year, and so the big win of the season for Rockledge became the barbecue bowl, and you don't want that. You don't want this to be the biggest win of the year, and I know looking at this team tonight, it won't be the biggest win of the year because there are a lot of big games coming up on the docket. So, and speaking of Rockledge, we'll see them back next week here, a bye week after they defeaed Seabreeze in district play. 0-3 Rockledge goes into Seabreeze and last week and wins their first district game at 0-3. So that was just an incredible 37 second half points too, by the way. So we didn't get a chance to really talk about that last week. So I want to throw that in there. But congratulations again to O'Galley. And let's take one more final look at our scoreboard here tonight. on Brevard Sports Network, and I'm tired of straining my eyes, so I'm going to wait for the delay and watch it pop up on my screen. So I'm waiting for the thing to pop up, and then I'll read down the list. Centennial 61-14 over Bayside. O'Galley 25-13 over Cocoa. Melbourne all over Palm Bay 59-7. Woodford County 35-17 over Heritage. Bishop Moore 41, MCC 13. Merritt Island pulls one out. Pick 6 wins it for the Mustangs 24-21. Holy Trinity, man, they are 4-1, and Coach Brown's got them moving. That's a good pairing, them in the SSAA. Talked about Space Coast tonight. That's the only team we didn't mention, and I got notes on Space Coast. I don't have the Vipers up on the screen. Hang on here. Let me pull that down. I think I have this. Hang on here. No, I don't. So Space Coast tonight picks up a big. I had them at the top of the screen, and then I threw the Bayside score in there, which knocked them off. My apologies to the Space Coast community and Jake Owens. Jake texted me, and I can't read the text because I'm using the device that the text is on. So, Jake, my apologies. And no, it's not because you're a Bengals fan. But Space Coast gets the win tonight, 21-17, over a Celebration team. Jake tells me had 20 seniors on it. He said this was the best Celebration team he had ever beaten. I promise you, when we do the recap for tonight, Space Coast, I'll have you right at the top. Again, Jake, I'm sorry. I had put the one score in and it bounced it out, trying to rush to get on. Please, Space Coast, accept my apologies. So here we go. Centennial 61, Bayside 14, Space Coast 21. Celebration 7. O'Galley 25-13 over Cocoa. Melbourne 59, Palm Bay 7. Woodford, Kentucky 35, Heritage 17. Bishop Moore 41, MCC 13. The Mustangs 24-21. Holy Trinity 38-14. Spruce Creek 29-22. Vieira 44, Toho 22. Satellite, the only remaining 11-man, they're the only remaining unbeaten, period, because Merritt Island Christian lost. Satellite 5-0. With a 25-7 win over Port Orange Atlantic. Cocoa Beach bounces back from last week's loss to the aforementioned Satellite as they beat St. Edward's 28-25. Donahue Catholic comes into Merritt Island Christian. That was the first home game tonight for the Cougs and pulls off a 26-20 win in 4 corners over Calvary Chapel, 36-0. Stay tuned next week. The teams we normally cover, none of them are playing, so reach out to me. What game do you want to see here on? Now, we're not traveling. We're not going out of county, okay? So we're not going to Norland. We're not, none of that. I think Cocoa has a bye. The 4 teams we normally cover, for one reason or another, do not play or are out of county next week. So what game do you want to see next week? Let me know. And we'll see what we can do about it right here. We'll call it You Pick 'em week here on Brevard Sports Network. Maybe we'll do a poll here and see what everybody wants to see next week. So I thank all of you. And one more time, please, 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 if you would, be so kind as to share Caleb's. I'm going to put it in the. I'm going to put Caleb's GoFundMe in the comments. If you could please share it. I know finances are tough. I get it. I understand. But the best way that you can help us, if you can't donate to Caleb, is to share this GoFundMe. Because you never know a life that Brevard Sports Network or Caleb could have touched across the country, and they see this. Caleb's got a lot of fans around this country. And I will leave you tonight with highlights, one more time, highlights of the O'Galley Commodores ending a 27-game, nearly 6-year, 2,148-day streak of wins by the Tigers against Brevard County. For my man, Caleb Brown, I'm Alan Slaughterzinski. Thank all of you very much for all of your support. throughout the week. I cannot thank you enough. Have a good night, and here are those highlights as promised. Leading rusher of the year.
Corbin will take it off tackle again. Goes up the sideline at the 5, still on his feet, and with an extra effort is in the end zone for a Commodore touchdown.
That's a Wilmy touchdown.
Near sideline. Troy Silverzon looking for C.J. Hester on the screen, and he's going to go to the 5. He jukes left, and he'll be end zone. Touchdown, Tigers. Corbin with a direct snap. He's going to test the outside, and he will. Oh, it's a touchdown.
Yeah. And again, and this time, way to go, young man. He scores. He walks out of the end zone, and the O'Galley Commodores have taken the lead. Great to see him just hand the ball back to the referee.
Silverzon calls for it. Quick throw over the middle, and that has got to be pass interference, you would think, as Bettle fell to the ground.
No, he tripped over his feet. And there are two issues I have with this right here.
Ball on the 35 for the O'Galley Commodores.
Oh, look at this.
Larice makes one man miss, still on his feet, and going down the sideline. Is Larice taking it to the house? Yes, he is.
Touchdown, O'Galley Commodores, and that's how you start a second half, Knock.
Yeah, I was about to say, but that was my key. You cannot let the Commodores. Silverzon, play action, looking to
play
throw.
action.
Goes over the middle of the field. He's got the catch. And the Tigers, it's O'Keefe's battle. He dives for the end zone for a touchdown. Boxing scoreboard here in the fourth quarter. Silverzon quickly throwing. Nice little floater. And that one is picked off by Gallardo, the safety.
Didn't read the safety. Did not read the safety coming backside. And totally missed it. And you know what?
5:35 to play here in the fourth quarter. Larice will keep it himself. Bounces to the outside. Looking for a blocker. He gets it across the 15, the 10, the 5. And do we have the exclamation point? We do. Touchdown, Commodores.
That's it, Doc. That's it. The O'Galley Commodores have come into Richard Dick Blake Stadium and made a statement because they didn't beat them, okay?
As that one's picked by Xavier Larice.
Jeez.
Second interception, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Yeah, I mean, Xavier Larice, if he's not the player of the year, stop and give him.